All right, guys, we are going to do Chapter 5, Introduction. Now, normally what would happen, which if you go to Google Classroom, it's right here under Chapter 5, and everybody's going to open up this Chapter 1, or Chemistry 1, Chapter 5 octet grouping, which when you open it up, it's going to look like this. Now, each class is going to open, like third hour is going to open up this one right here, fourth hour right here. So normally what would happen pre-COVID days is when you guys came into class that day, I would just give you a piece of paper with a number on it. So if you look for fourth hour, like Clayton, you would be 4. In third hour, Emma would be 4, Sierra 1. So I just kind of randomly would give you numbers. Now that we have COVID and we can't get up and move around and be around other people, I had made this. So instead of getting up and going into groups, you guys would take your little avatar here and you would place it into a group. So we were all going to get on computers and we were all going to open up this as one big group, and you all were going to be on here at the same time moving your little avatars around. All right, so that's how that was going to work. Now with fourth hour, I needed to add a few names. You guys are such a small class. I needed to add some stuff in here so that you guys had more options as far as numbers go. So if you look at this, it says you are to move your person into groups that add up to the number 8 by using the numbers by your name. You will be doing this 3 times. You can never have the exact same group more than once. All right, so for instance, third hour, if you look here, we have numbers by your name. So maybe Emma, you have a number 4, like who could you go with to get 8? And I would prefer that you guys can do as many, like if it takes 3 people or 4 people to get your group number to 8, you can do that. But obviously, Emma, you could, I keep using you as an example, you and Andre could add up to 8, just the 2 of you. Or you could get 3 or 4 people in your group to add up to 8. All right, so that's how you're going to do that part. You're using these numbers at the top. Ignore the charges down here. We're going to mess with those here in a little bit. All right, so once you do that, you're going to answer these questions. When you join groups, what was the magic number you needed to form? Now, I just said that. I'm not going to say it again, but you guys can read the directions to figure that out if you can't think of it. Number 2, write down the different groups you formed. Write down their names and their numbers. So, no, Emma and Andre, I'm picking on you. But if you joined with Andre, I would write Andre's name down and then put his number 4 out to the side. We just need to make sure that it does add up to 8. So that's what you're doing first. If we scroll on down here to number 3, it says, were you able to get into a group every time? Why or why not? Now, this is where it's going to be tricky. If I told you guys, I'm going to limit you to 2 people in a group, then it would be like if you go to Emma, for example, if you could only have 2 people in a group, like Andre is the only option. She could never, there is nobody else with the number 4. All right, so this is what I'm going to ask of you guys. You guys you can only have 3 people in a group. Now, normally this would work very differently than what I'm doing right now. But right now, you can only have up to 3 people in a group. All right, and I'll write this up here too. Let me see here. You are to move it. Okay, I'm going to write it right here. No more. You can have no more than 3 people in a group. All right. So were you able to get into a group every time? Why or why not? So some of you may say yes, some of you may say no. And I will talk about that more later. I don't want to give anything away, but I will talk about that because some of you it's going to be different. You're going to have different answers. Number 4, do you think there are some people in the room that were able to get into groups easier? Why or why not? Why do you think some people could maybe get into a group easier than others? I mean, look at me, for example. Could I get into a group? Number 5, who could never enter into any groups? Once again, I kind of gave that away. Look at me. Number 6, we're going to look at the charges now. So guys, like I said, just do this the best you can. Obviously, we're not all doing this at one time. If we were, we would see where it's very different, because let's say, for example, if we were in class doing this, let's see, who has a 7? Grayson. Grayson has a 7. So maybe Grayson and Mackenzie got in a group together. Well, that means Jessica cannot get with Mackenzie. When you guys are doing this by yourselves at home, that never happens. Jessica never has to compete with Grayson when she's at home by herself. So see, it does change things a little bit, the fact that you're not in school doing this activity, because sometimes maybe you can't get with anybody. Maybe Bridget and Christian go with, trying to see here, with Carlin. Maybe Carlin, Christian, and Bridget all form a group to form 8. Grayson and Mackenzie get in a group to form 8, and Jessica is out here by herself with nobody to go with. That can happen in class, but when you're at home and nobody's taking these people away from you, then that never happens. So you can see where it does kind of change things. All right, so let's go down to number 6. You will now use the charges at the bottom of your card to try to get a 0 charge. Guys, you want neutral. You will want to get the total of your charges to equal 0 and balance out. List the people in your group along with their charges. So let's do, I'm going to use 4th hour for this. So look at this, Kaylee, if you have a -2 charge, you could go with Avery, who has a +2 charge, and that would equal 0, right? So you guys could do that. Let's see here, we have JC, who has a -1. Could go with Hallie, but JC could never go with Kaylee. Like that can't happen. You could have Olivia, who could go with, oh gosh, JC and Emma. So JC, Emma, and Olivia, that would equal 0. So you have just options like that. All right, and don't forget to list their name and their charges so we can see that it does equal 0. Number 7, were you able to get into a group every time? Why or why not? And it's the same thing as what I talked about just a second ago. If you are in class and you all have your avatars and you're moving them around, well, let's see here. The one I just said, if Olivia were to go with, let's see here, Emma and JC, well, that means that Hallie could no longer go with JC to get that to equal 0. All right, so when you're at home by yourselves, you don't have people getting taken up, or you don't have the whole class doing this. Because remember, in class, you guys would have went into these boxes, and there might be a time where one of you's left out, and you're like, everybody's in a group, and I don't have anybody left. All right, so it's kind of, that's what you got to kind of think about, like, that this is what Mrs. Fry was aiming for. Okay, number 7, were you able to get into a group every time? Number 8, who could never get into a group? So you're going to have to go back here and you're going to have to look at your classmates' charges. Who never was in a group? Do you notice anything that could connect the 2 different activities we just did? So that's kind of like a what do you think type of question. Now this I'm not going to have you guys do this all in one day. So you can stop right here if you want, like day 1, you did this part, you filled out these 2 pages, and stop and be like, tomorrow I'm going to watch the rest of the video. So that's fine. Or if you want to go ahead and work ahead, you can go ahead and keep listening, and I'm going to keep talking. All right, so here's the deal. I've got your element, and I have a number and charge. And so that I didn't take up an entire sheet here, I did another column of elements with their number and their charge. So remember, Emma had a number of 4 and a charge of 0. So you can see that on here. Look at Sermanium here. A number of 4, a charge of 0. So this is like what Emma had. I'm sorry, Emma, you're the first one on there, so I just keep using you. So you can look here and you can see all these charges and their numbers. This is supposed to help you answer these. So like we did with the groups of students, we're going to group elements. Come up with as many groups as you can below by adding numbers up to 8. Try to name as many as you can. Just try and do your best. So elements in your group. So I'm just going to do an example. All right, so remember I want 8. So I'm just going to write here 7 and 1. I've got bromine and potassium. that adds up to 8. So down here, I would write bromium, potassium. I would be like, I wonder what the name of this thing is. And you guys, literally, like, do not worry about this. This is participation. Try your best. What do you think the name of it is? Just try to name it. And then, once again, you're going to go down and do that. Now, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So you should have 10 different ones that you're trying to come up with. Once again, try your best. It is participation. It's just an introduction to get your juices, your brain juices flowing so that we can then get into chapter 5. The last thing is group elements together by getting their charges to cancel out. And you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So don't think like number 1, you have to fill out this entire row. Nope, you're just doing elements in your group, name. Elements in your group, name. And you go down and then you elements in your group name, so there should be 10 different ones. So let's look at this. I'm just going to do an example. We want these okay, so bromine and arsenic. Look at this. Oh no, -3 and -3. Sorry. We could do bromine and gallium, -3 + 3. You would get a 0 charge. Now it doesn't have to be just 2. You could do 3. I could say I've got gallium and 3 potassiums. I could say that. So anyways, that's what you're doing here. You're telling me elements. Once again, you're just trying to name these things. This is introduction. I know you guys may not get it right. That's my job to teach you guys that. So I just want to see what you know before we get going. And just, see if you guys can figure it out. All right, so anyways, if you have any questions on this at all, let me know. We can Zoom. I can email you back. However we need to do that. And you guys always have that option of coming in if you want to get some help. I will set up some Zoom times though, so just let me know if you need anything from me. All right, have a great rest of your week, and I will be posting more later.